Hey there, I'm Kat, and this is Brews and Reviews. In honor of taking part in the Spoonies Readathon, I thought I would do the Autism and Books Tag. This tag was created by Annalisa Ely, and I'll leave a link to the original tag in the description below. So you may know by now, I'm autistic, thought I'd do the Autism and Books Tag. Let's get started. Question number 1. Getting autistic people to agree can be like herding cats. What's a book with characters that have a difficult/frustrating time working together? Before I answer this question, I would just like to say that personally, I don't think it's that difficult to get autistic people to do what you want, as long as you know how to ask them and also can present a logical argument, because if you can't, I'm not fucking doing it. Okay, maybe it is a bit like herding cats, but like, So my answer to this question is Jaya and M from The Luminous Dead by Caitlin Starling. So this book is a sci-fi caving horror, I guess, about a character who lies on her CV and ends up in a mining position that essentially she really shouldn't be in. And the core relationship in this is between Jaya, who has gone in this cave, and the person who is on the surface and communicating with her, who's called M. They're kind of lying to each other, both of them at the same time, and it's very frustrating when they're working together. And as this book is from Jaya's perspective, you see more of her frustration than M's frustration, but also Jaya does some things that she really shouldn't do, and also lied on her CV, which is a bad time. So their whole relationship is really frustrating, and it's very difficult because it's one of sort of dishonesty, and that is part of the reason why I like this book, because they're like, I can't trust you, but I have to trust you or else I might die, so I guess I'll trust you, but I don't want to. And it's just fun. I really enjoyed this book, and that relationship just really stood out to me for the answer to this question. Question number 2, comorbidities. Autistic people tend to have comorbid conditions such as anxiety, depression, and nerve conditions. Well, okay, ow, but true. What's a book that kept kicking a character when they were down? Okay, 2 answers for this one of which I'm too lazy to get out, but Empire of Storms and Kingdom of Ash. Honestly, these books just kept kicking Aelin. Everything in these 2 books lined up to have Aelin be absolutely battered by everyone. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about the plot of these because books like 6 and 8 in the Throne of Glass series, and I don't want to talk about exactly what happens, but if you read these books, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's poor Aelin. Poor Aelin. Question number 3, social rebels. Autistic people often enjoy flouting social rules. They stupid? Then I shall flout them. What's a book with a society or group of people with an excessive amount of rules? So for this one, I went with The Societies in Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This series takes place within Yale University and has a number of secret societies, and I'm speaking more specifically about the Ninth House, which is House Lethe, and that's where our main character ends up. She ends up coming up against so many rules that just seem really stupid, and she's like, I'm trying to save people here, and it's like, well, the rules say you should have done it like this, or you shouldn't have done that like that. And it just seems so stupid at the time when she's like, I'm literally trying not to die right now. Could you cut me some slack? And they're like, no. Rules is rules. So that kind of felt like a perfect answer for this question. So question number 4, ABA. This is a therapy autistic people are sent to that can often cause psychological harm in the name of helping them. Who is a character who was creepily controlling over another character for their own good? So for this question, I'm going to pick Hiram from the Lapland Underground series. This is a Why Choose romance series with like mafia dark romance aspects to it, and the main character sort of escapes this guy Hiram, and she ends up free from his service, but he trained her to be like a stripper assassin. She's like, no, I'm free now, and he's creepily controlling over her, and his presence is just like a dominating like background evil energy for a while, and then he actually makes an appearance in book 3, and it's like, oh my god, what a dick, that guy, what a dick. He's very creepily and controlling over Candy, and it's just like, no, please get this man away. Ick. Very ick. Question number 5, special interest. Who's a character sufficiently obsessed with something that it would be their special interest if they were autistic? Now, the funny thing is, I found it really hard to not pick an autistic character for this, because I'm like, I've just read so many books where people actually have special interests, and I'm like, I really want to pick this person. I'm like, but they are actually autistic, so it would be bad if I picked them, because this is supposed to be people who aren't autistic. Anyway, I probably could have picked an autistic person, but my literal brain was like, no, the question says no, so I picked someone else. And honestly, this answer is a little bit of a joke, but I picked Ethan from House of Earth and Blood and just the entire Crescent City series. Did you know he likes Sunball? He really likes Sunball. Did you know he plays Sunball? He's a Sunball player, and every time this character is mentioned throughout like the entire 3-book series, I'm pretty sure it's reference to the fact that he used to play Sunball because he likes Sunball. Question number 6, high empathy. Autistic people tend to have so much empathy for other people, it can overwhelm us. Who's a character who cares more about others' feelings than their own and is always trying to take care of people? I actually found this one really quite hard because I do think there's an element of selfishness in a lot of characters, and I couldn't think of any that I'd recently read. So I ended up going with Misery Lark from Bride by Ali Hazelwood. She is the main character of this book, and her entire life revolves around doing things for others. As a child, she was sort of used as like a sacrifice and sent over to be warded by the humans, sort of as a threat. Like if the vampires did anything bad, then the humans would kill Misery. So she spent the majority of her youth kind of sacrificing herself for her people, and then she just kind of hangs on to that mentality. Her motivations for this book are completely driven by trying to find somebody and trying to make sure that they're okay, and everything that she does is basically for other people. She's like, okay, yeah, okay, I'll do that because it's for the greater good, and she's not really thinking about herself, so I feel like she was kind of the perfect answer. Question number 7, sensory sensitivities. I feel like 7 sensory sensitivities was done specifically as a tongue twister, and that feels a little bit evil, but okay. Autistic people are often so sensitive to taste, texture, sight, smell, and sound that it can overwhelm us. Who is a character with supernatural/enhanced senses that sometimes overwhelm them? And I'm not gonna lie, it took me ages to find an answer to this question because half of the time I was just thinking about Hunter from The Bad Batch, which is a Star Wars TV series, because he has enhanced senses, and then I just couldn't think of anyone else because all I could think of was Hunter. But then I did eventually come up with Renya from The King Beyond the Gate. Now it's kind of spoilery to say why, so if you don't want to hear this spoiler for The King Beyond the Gate by David Gemmell, then, you know, just wait until I put my hand down, okay? Alright, you've gone if you don't want to hear the spoilers. Okay, so Renya is actually a joining, and a joining is essentially a human mixed with an animal through like these really cruel, horrible experiments. So she was joined with a panther, and she has some panther-like reflexes and abilities and senses, and sometimes in this book you can see that it overwhelms her, specifically if she is in a fight and needs to murderize someone, because she does it like a panther would. Yay. Question number 8, same foods. Autistic people tend to like to stick to the same foods on a daily basis and avoid foods that upset their senses. What is a food that's talked about in a book that you would want to eat and one that you definitely wouldn't? Well, let's talk about safe foods. So these are technically foods that like just always are yes foods. They're things that you would always want to eat. No matter how you're feeling, that's just a food that you can eat. A lot of these foods tend to be things like bread, pasta, cereal, you know, the bland, brown, yellow foods. So in that vein, I'm going to pick lembas bread from The Lord of the Rings because it's bread. Bread is good. Bread is always safe. And bread that can fill you from like a single bite. Why would you not pick this? This sounds amazing. I would like this. I would like some lembas bread, please. And for food that I don't want, I just don't want anything with meat in it. I'm a vegetarian because I hate the texture of meat, and like, I don't love the taste of it, but I really, really hate the texture of it. It makes me feel absolutely Anyway, just for clarity, I'll even narrow that down because like somebody could have made like a gourmet meat dish. I still don't want it, but like, you know, in fantasy books when they've caught some food and they eat it around the campfire and they're just like, oh, I just roasted it over the fire. No, thank you. Please, I can't think of anything worse. You don't even know if it's cooked right. Let me tell you a story about tech food class when I was at school. Me and this other guy used to have to swap when I ever had to cook meat, because I used to eat meat at that point in time. Like, I remember distinctly we were making spaghetti bolognese one class, and it was time to like fry the raw mince, and I was like, George, please, can I switch with you? And George cooked my meat for me while I just like stirred some vegetables or like chopped some stuff up for him. George, I didn't really ever really speak to him, but my god, that man saved my life in tech food class, because there was no way I was cooking that. The smell of it's just like... Anyway, meat. I don't want it, thank you. And the last question, question number 9, late diagnosis. Because of misperceptions about autism, even among medical professionals, many autistic people aren't diagnosed until their symptoms have manifested for many years. I wasn't diagnosed till I was 26, so I really, really feel this. There's a lot of us that got missed out there and then discovered that we were autistic on the internet. Before I get into this actual question, I just want to say, if you see a lot of people saying, oh, it feels like everyone wants to be autistic now, it feels like everyone is saying that they're autistic, it's like a fad. It's not a fad. We've just discovered the internet and gone, oh, actually, maybe I am autistic. We found the quiz and it turns out our results are all over the place, and neurotypical people's results are like really small. And we're like getting 90s on the 100 quiz, which is, you know, a whole thing. I'll see if I can find the quiz that I used, and I was like, oh, yes, I may be autistic. Yes. Anyway, back to the question. Who's a character who had no idea what was going on until the end of the book? Now, a little bit of me really wanted to pick Kale from the Throne of Glass series, because that man has no idea what's going on half the time, which I think is evident from the fact that he was like surprised that Selena being an assassin meant killing people. But I did pick another character for this, which I think also really works. And this character is Dr. Alexandra Blake from Destined to Play by Indigo Blue. Now, you might remember that I reviewed this book as a Complaints with Cat back in the day. I'll leave a link to this one in the description below because wow, it's wild. Now, I picked Alexandra because she's got no fucking idea about what is happening in this book. And honestly, she doesn't even care to know. She's just like, okay, cool, I'll just do the things. I don't know things, brain, no worky. So let me just set the scene for you. So Alexandra Blake, she's a doctor. She's going to a conference. She's like, okay, I'll meet up with this guy that I once had a fling with. I think she's married, but she goes over and she's like meeting this guy who's also a doctor, and he's like, come to this hotel room with me, and she's like, okay, and he's like, maybe we'll do some seducing, and she's like, okay, and then he's like, let me put these drops in your eyes and blind you for 48 hours, and she's like, okay, no. This woman has lost all of her brain cells. She's got no idea what's going on. She doesn't ask if, like, actually he doesn't even say that it's gonna blind her for 48 hours. He just says, just like, let me put these in your eyes, and she's like, cool. She could be permanently blind. She doesn't know what's gonna happen, and like, she just like lets him do whatever, and I'm like, she's got no idea what's going on the entire weekend and spends the whole time blind and just following this man around, and wow, it's a wild ride. I recommend the Complaints with Cat video. I feel like I never actually finished this series, but the second book in the series gets even wilder, and like, I kind of want to read the third final book in the series just to find out how many red flags she's willing to ignore from all of the people around her. Anyway, if you made it to this part in the video, please leave me a confused person emoji, because confused. And if you like this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!